today we're here with our newest launch,
Much anticipated.
Yeah. Methylene Blue.
Oh.
Okay. So what I first want to talk about is really neurodegenerative diseases and how it's plaguing us. And it's very sad, and it's something that's always on my mind with aging. It's just because you see people that go through it, your loved ones, your friends, and it's very, very scary. So when it comes to what goes on there, we talk about mitochondrial metabolism. You've heard us talk about mitochondria. Those are the powerhouses of our cells. Those are the things that are responsible for the energy. So what happens as we age, as our brains age, is our mitochondrial metabolism decreases. So that energy production inside there, in all of our cells in our body, that energy production goes down. It's not happening like it should. And that leads to, for simple cases, just memory loss, lack of focus.
Sure.
But then obviously our extreme cases, our dementia, our Alzheimer's, which Parkinson's, all very, very, very prevalent and again, scary.
Yeah.
So the goal is to take supplements, do things helpful for our body, lifestyle medicines that can prevent that from happening, that can come in and jump into that mitochondria and help that energy production. It's like your electron transport chain, but I know that's getting a little technical. And that's the goal with this. And that is really the goal with Methylene Blue.
When you start seeing the signs of aging and the signs of disease really start to set in, it's a mitochondrial based disease process. And it seems like that's really where most of our anti-aging experts and longevity pioneers were really putting a lot of effort into this category. This came up with Lisa and I as we're talking. Do me a favor and be aware of your searches, your internet searches. You will find stuff out there that is not accurate. There's a lot of misinformation in this topic. Methylene Blue has been around for over a century, probably 150 years or so. It was originally developed as a synthetic dye. It is in the form of a salt. It later was found, because the way that it was being used to dye slides and for microbiology, that they identified that it was killing viruses and bacteria. And eventually it was used as a treatment for malaria. So widely known for treating malaria. Scientists then started to really study this molecule significantly. I think the World Health Organization still has it listed as an essential medicine. It readily crosses the blood-brain barrier. It goes quickly across. But by doing so, it really gets right into the brain and the spinal column. How does Methylene Blue work? Well, primarily because the way that it's still being used today to treat like cyanide poisoning and carbon monoxide poisoning, this has the ability to increase the amount of like cellular respiration in the brain. So it carries more oxygen. Within the mitochondria, there's a process called the electron transport chain. This is the chain that transfers energy, and it does so by using electrons. So that's its part in regulating and helping to supplement the mitochondria.
To produce more energy. That's all the goal there.
Yeah. The name of the game here is we're focusing on the fact that it's highly concentrated in the brain and it's deeply involved in mitochondria and energy production.
Yep.
So what does all that mean? So it's going to help us with all of the things that we've just talked about. So from an aging perspective, I know you were just looking at studies now, that statistical significance with improvements in Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, so neurodegenerative diseases, still widely being studied and used. It helps with memory, focus, cognition. They say out of the mental agility. They said you feel plugged in, a sense of focus.
Right.
All of these things are what people report after taking Methylene Blue. All right, how do we take it? Let's talk about dosing. Let's talk about the best way to take methylene. So right now, first question, pharmaceutical grade. That's the big one.
You would go there.
All right.
I've had like 5 emails.
So from pharmacy perspective, is it pharmaceutical grade? You guys are absolutely right for asking the question about the grade of Methylene Blue, because it is there's industrial dyes out there that are like covered in metals, high in metal content. So you're absolutely spot on to be asking about what grade it is. Now, look, the reality is that nothing is really pharmaceutical grade unless you're in pharmaceutical manufacturing. However, with that said, this is in fact Methylene Blue USP. All right, USP would be considered the equivalent or the source for pharmaceutical grade manufacturing. That's really, really important. That's a problem. So if you're using other methylene blues, just make sure that they have USP, make sure they have their metal testing, and take a look at the C of A just look at the C of A as well. But the metal testing would be separate. So this is 20 milligrams per film, and there's 15 films in the box, right? So we're not talking about high dosages here. We are not even anywhere even close. As a matter of fact, the low dose range is about 20 milligrams to 60 milligrams orally. So we're on the low of the low, but at 20 milligrams has been shown to be plenty effective. That's the point. You don't need to go high in your dosages, and nor should you, because then you can start to run into other problems. So you'll know that, first of all, pregnancy and breastfeeding is contraindicated. Do not consume methylene blue if you're pregnant or breastfeeding. I still recommend, though, if you're on an SSRI or an SNRI or any type of antidepressants, an MAOI, which you don't see that often anymore, you should still consult with your provider. And if he says no, hard no, don't touch it, you should say something to the effect, well, 20 milligrams orally doesn't seem to be a high dose. Do you have any literature to support that it'd be a problem for me? Because actually what we're finding is that people that are using this that have mental or mood disorders, they're deriving a tremendous amount of benefit out of it. We suggest using one every other day. That's why there's 15 in there for a 30-day supply. And if you want to take it 15 days straight in a row, you can do that as well. If you want to take it for 2 months straight in a row, you can do that as well. But my message, and Lisa I think agrees, is that we're actually trying to help you restore the normal function of your mitochondria. And this is one part or one, say, like tool in your belt to help you do that.
Right. So like, say, I know I've had the question, like, can you just take one when you need a little bit of mood enhancing?
Yeah.
So one here, one there, one there.
Mhm.
Sure, you can. But again, the goal is to get that mitochondria functioning properly, to prevent that mitochondrial metabolism, the decrease that happens as our brains age. So it's just like when you take supplements on a regular basis. It's, you're not just taking your vitamin D one day here because you didn't maybe get outside enough. You're taking it to maintain a level. So there's a purpose.
Methylene blue is good in fasting. I don't think it over. I would not recommend this later in the day near bedtime. It doesn't make sense to me. I like it first thing in the morning.
Because it does.
Yeah. There's another part to this. I would like for you guys, if it's possible, once you take methylene blue, you can go out and seek natural sunlight. And by doing so, it actually increases this, it provides like a synergistic response to the mitochondria. It can actually help sort of provide more ATP and increase the mitochondria.
Right. And if you don't have sunlight, I have had this question a lot. If you have any form of red light therapy access to in your home or in a facility, it doesn't have to be a lot, right? Like
No.
it could just be
10 minutes
a lot,
max.
but it doesn't have to be full body. I
No.
mean, you could just have a little bit of
Pounds,
there's
yeah.
handheld little red light things for that people use for pain and stuff.
Definitely check that out. Within 30 minutes of taking it, go out, you can get 5, 15, 20 minutes of sunlight, just exposing your skin to it. And I think that's good for us as a whole anyway.
I'm just going to throw out the price there because to me, this is crazy. For members, it's only $12.95. So 30-day supply of methylene blue for $12.95. Crazy. Non-members, the retail price $19.95. Let's talk a little bit about how maybe the blue.
Yeah, it's on my tongue.
Okay.
I had mine this morning.
Yes, and so did I. So I'm going to show you how ours is different because we're still experimenting a little bit. So I'm going to show you mine.
Oh, not bad. Really not
Just
much.
my very back. So what I did is I took the film, horizontal. I set it down in the back I kept my mouth open. As you can feel, it starts to dissolve on your tongue. I just swallowed water. So it dissolves very, very fast. So I didn't close my mouth so it didn't go into the saliva all over and get everything blue. So I think that is going to be the way I do it, unless I really want blue.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So figure out what works for you. Depending on where you place it on your tongue, I think this is a thing too, because obviously our taste buds are all different. There are different sections of our tongue. You might feel a little bit more bitter somewhere, might feel a little bit more minty somewhere. When I put it in the back this time, I had nothing.
Right.
I didn't even have mint. It was kind of weird. It just was like a neutral flavor. So
yeah, it can cause numbness and tingling a little bit. As a weird.
That's completely normal. It will go away. How long does the blue last? 2
to 3 hours. I just hope this was informative enough for you and answers a lot of your questions and concerns. Bye, everybody. Have a great day. See you soon.